Hello, welcome back to Let's Get Ethereal. It's your gal Lauren here with what I'm assuming will be a pretty long episode. So buckle in or hit pause, return to the other sections as we go because we have a lot to cover. First of all, obviously, we're going to talk about the astrology of the week as we do every episode. And we also have a new numerology month emerging. So we'll talk a lot about that. What does it mean to go from the four collective to the five? And that leads us into the lesson corner this week is numerology. So what we're going to cover is the difference between your life path number, which is like your number based on your full birthday. It doesn't change. It is your number forever. Think of it as like your birth chart. Your birth chart doesn't change, but you're always evolving, up leveling, trying to reach its highest potentials. And same with your life path number. It shows kind of like what you're moving throughout your life, the lessons, the hardships, but also the ease and flow. And then that versus your numerology personal year cycle, that is much more predictive. The current energy that you're moving through for that year, it gets broken down by month. It gets very specific. I love predictive numerology. I always look at it in any reading that I do, and I have on my website numerology readings if you want to grab that. But that's more of like, what are you, think of it as like a transit. What's going on in the sky astrologically is always changing and it's impacting your chart. Same for your personal year number. It is what you're moving through currently and how that impacts like your life path number. So we'll talk about that. I was also going to add the numerology of where you're living, like spaces, but I think it'll get too long. We'll save that for another episode, but feel free to look that up in the meantime. And then for the pop culture corner, I figured since we had the finale of Love Story a few days ago, which was a show that I really loved, if you watched it, it's about Carolyn Basset Kenedy and John F. Kennedy Jr. and their love story. But it got a lot of scrutiny in the press, despite it being a very I loved the show. It was very fun, but it was very fictionalized, and they didn't hide that. It's like literally every episode they say it. But there was a lot of scrutiny in the news here and there about like, were they really like this? How did they fill in the blanks? And so I figured let's look at Carolyn's chart. I'll also look at JFK Jr.'s just to see like their connection. But he was in the news his whole life, so there's a lot about him that we know and his personality. If you were to like research it, I haven't, but I watched the show. And I think with Carolyn though, she was much more secretive. And so I figured, let's look at her chart. Let's see her real self and if maybe they got it right or wrong. And no, I will not be looking at the day that they passed. I think that's yucky. This is much more of like being a hype girl to Carolyn's chart and kind of revealing behind the curtain of like what was she like. And just at a first glance, before I even show you guys, I'm like, she was blunt, funny, like very cool. So I think they did nail some of those early episodes of like trying to capture her essence, but there's so much more to her. So we'll look at that. So that's what we have ahead for the episode. But let's start with the astrology of the week and the numerology. But let's check out the birth chart of the current sky. We also, all these tabs are going to be what I talk about later. Okay. Okay. So out the gate, I just first have to say we are moving from on April 1st, which is Wednesday, and a full moon. So we have a full moon week. Okay. It's in Libra. Love is going to be a major theme this week. Okay. But we're also moving from a collective numerology. So everyone has their own personal numerology year, and we're going to talk about that this episode. I'm so excited. But the collective energy that we're all moving through is always impacting your personal numerology number, okay, for your year ahead. I just happen to be synced with it, and you might be too. Like I'm in a personal 1 year, and it's a collective 1 year. That gets broken down to months. And so March has been a collective 4 month. I covered this last episode, but the 4 is a little bit like a it's like adulting. It's the heads down, wrap it up, get the shit done, be productive and get things in order. It's a slower kind of pause to reassess month. We had it during Mercury retrograde, which was so fitting, and a very Pisces heavy sky during March. So I was just like, y'all, March is not the momentum month, okay? And so we're coming out of that. It explains why, if you've been more in that logistical structure, responsibility energy, or just like a ton of reality checks or back against the wall moments, that could be the tough side of 4, or really self-critical, or like perfectionist tendencies can come out when we are anxious in the 4. But the 4 is that bricklaying energy that you will stand upon for the later months, okay? So we have a few more days left in our 4. Get some stuff done. We also have a Virgo moon on Monday. Y'all know I love a Virgo moon moment, because it's like, oh, let me organize, clean, get like the lists made. We have that part of Sunday as well, the day before. So if you started your week off in that kind of productive mentality, this makes sense, okay? So take advantage Monday, okay, and Tuesday of the 4 month. And then I would say, you know, the next chapter, the 5 energy, is much more in alignment with the astrological new year, Aries season. We're finally having these planets move into Aries, okay? We have the sun now in Aries. It's moved away from Saturn. It's a little less serious. We've got Mars not far behind. The second half of April, it'll enter here. Same with Mercury, that's speeding up from retrograde. And those are both still in Pisces, but they will be entering Aries this month. So the 5 month, the 5 is going to be a much more noticeable go forward, because the 5 in numerology, I always say, at its worst, heads up, it can feel a little unsettling. It reminds me a little of like Uranus energy. It's like surprise and change and pivots, and things can happen fast, okay? If you are somebody that likes more of a plan and control, I always tell my little type A friends, that's up. The 5, it's like, expect the unexpected, be flexible is my best advice for 5 energy. All of April, if you can be more like, okay, I don't want to overcrowd my schedule in case something changes, or in case something exciting pops up that I can now say yes to. And at its best, that's what the 5 is. It's like change, excitement. It's a romantic energy. It's a travel energy. It's do it differently, okay? What can you do differently this month? And I would also say it's a good energy in that realm if you want to think deeper of like getting unstuck, doing it differently. Like, you know, if we just keep doing the same things over and over and we're frustrated, the 5 is like, we're going to change it, okay? The 5 energy is the month I always say, like, it's like, fuck it all, just go for it. It's lighter, it's faster, it's more social. It's going to feel more fun, hopefully. At its worst, though, scattered, frantic, anxious, like a nervous system is what I'd say. So the next couple days, it's like, finish what you started if you can. Organize what is feeling messy, because the 5 brings in a little bit more mess. I think of like, oh, I'm running from this to this and my apartment's got like clothes all over it. That's the 5 energy, okay? So make some decisions, set things in motion, clean it up, get organized the first few days of the week. And then, yeah, I think from there, we're going to be set into like a much more forward momentum, because it's the collective 1. And the 1, the 3, the 5, the 8, those are fast moving numbers. And so when you sync them up, we're in a collective 1 year with a 5 month. It's go time. It's Aries season. It's go time. Okay. No planets are retrograde. It's go time. And the first planet that retrogrades is just Pluto in May. And then we don't really have retrograde skies until like July, to be honest. Okay. So take risks in April. Take risks in April. My animals just threw something on the ground outside the door. Yay. Okay. So we start the month, or the week, a new month as well, with the moon in Virgo, which, like I mentioned, is like perfect energy for getting things in order, clean up, edit, fix, try your best not to get too logical and too set in like it's got to be this way. I need to control or force. That's a tough side of Virgo. But it's like it's an efficiency. So take advantage. Try your best to like be in motion productively rather than like dawdling on things that like aren't productive. The really beautiful thing is later in the day, we'll just give it a couple hours. We've got Venus, the planet of love, money, beauty, art, aesthetics, all of the Venetian loveliness is moving into Taurus. Okay. Taurus is ruled by Venus. So is Libra, where the full moon is on Wednesday. So we love this. The ruler of the full moon on Wednesday is in one of its favorite places. So Venus in Taurus is very much like a lovely shift. Venus has been in Aries, which we love the energy. Aries, we needed it with Pisces, but Venus doesn't operate as best in Aries. It's kind of like impulsive with love and money, direct, refreshing. But when it moves into Taurus, this is very much like things get steadier. Relationships can get steadier. Mind you, this full moon is going to test a lot of relationships, but it's like money decisions get more grounded. Taurus is an earth sign. It feels steady, safe, and security. We're going to start craving wherever Venus goes. That's where we get to enjoy. Okay. Wherever Taurus is in your birth chart, that's where you're going to feel like ease and flow. Wherever Venus transits your chart, love. Okay. But when it's in Taurus, we're all going to feel like a pull towards wanting to feel safety, security. Money will be on the mind. Do any money mindset work if you can. And creativity may feel like, think more aesthetic, like maybe it's slower, pausing. Do I feel like beauty is around me? Like really satisfy those senses. Think of like, all the yumminess in life, the good blankets, good wine, good candles, like luxury, bougie. That's the vibe of Venus and Taurus. Okay. So it's time to like invest in what actually lasts is kind of the vibe with Venus and Taurus. It's not Venus in Aries, which is like chasing the excitement. I think of people with Venus in Aries, particularly men, they're like, woo, I like her. And then they're like, oh, but I like that too. Whereas Venus in Taurus is like, does that one feel safe in my nervous system? Does that one feel like cozy? That's the vibe now. Okay. So very sensory type of energy, food, comfort, beauty, art, aesthetics, nature as well, being outside, routine, feeling grounded is really a Taurus thing. So this feels very regulating to the nervous system. Thank you, Venus. Okay. When we get into Tuesday, we just have the moon moving into Libra towards the end of the evening, which you start feeling that full moon coming. Okay. So on Tuesday, moon moving into Libra, I would just say like the emphasis is going to be on relationships of all kinds. Libra rules equal give and take. Okay. And as soon as like Tuesday evening, we're going from productive into what feels balanced in my life or out of balance. May get like it's where our emotions are feeling the most, wherever the moon is going. So this changes the quickest, reminder. So it's a 2-day, 2.5 day the moon spends in a sign. But this one I'm giving extra emphasis to because it's moving into Libra and then we're having a full moon on Wednesday in Libra. And you know, Libra, if it's not relationships on your mind, it is the balance of your life. What feels like, okay, am I over focusing on one area of my life? And because I'm good at it, I just tend to like, you know, hone in there. Or am I allowing for that kind of reciprocity the rest of my life? Okay. But relationships, this can be obviously romantic. Libra rules other people, are equals though. So it's like best friends, colleagues that are equals, clients, bosses, like anybody that's close to you. Okay. With Libra energy, the tough side of it can reveal kind of, especially with this full moon, has some tense aspects. Some resentments can pop up. The inequality can be very loud. And so I would say the full moon will bring clarity or closure sometimes to these types of patterns, or literal closure to dynamics and relationships. Okay. It's like something becomes so obvious. I always say on full moon, it's a flashlight moment in that part of your chart specific to you. Where is that 12 degrees of Libra in your birth chart? Come to my moon event on Wednesday if you want more personalized emphasis and, tarot readings and manifestation lists. But for everybody, it's a flashlight moment, collective energy into Libra. Do you feel supported? Do you allow support in? A lot of us just have trouble receiving, okay? But something is trying to become obvious. And what I'm feeling with the aspects and what I've written in my workbook is it's more about revealing, like, are you going to stay stuck in patterns? We're switching into the 5-month on the full moon, the 1st of April. It's saying, are you going to enter this new energy, this fast-paced energy, this all systems go, new year, all planets direct energy with old patterns of relationships and over-giving or over-expectating? Is that a word? Expectations. Libra loves to project and give expectations and then resent it afterwards. And it's just like, maybe if you're feeling like you're overgiving, maybe you're overgiving because you have a pattern of people pleasing, or you've earned your value and worth through that because you've gotten really good feedback of like, you're such a good friend, you're always there for me. But like, do you allow yourself to receive? Do you reach out for help? All of these things will get really loud this full moon, or it can straight up be a particular relationship. Okay, if this is in the 11th house, it could be friendships or helpful people, illuminating. This can also bring in new things. If it's in the 7th, obviously that's more love related, or 5th house, love related. 3rd house could be like siblings and extended family or neighbors. Like every house has a theme, okay? But in general, it's like, do we feel balanced in this area of our lives? And do we feel supported? And are we allowing that in? Okay. I wanted to read a little section of the workbook for this full moon. Reminder, I've 3 years in a row written a workbook for all the new and full moons, and then teach you how to find where it's impacting your chart, and you get a little reading in it too. But this last part of it, because, okay, this full moon is square Jupiter, opposite Saturn, ignore midheaven, that's not real, a trine Pluto, love that journey for us, opposite Neptune. So there's a lot of kind of tension in the sky, mainly Saturn staring it down loosely. And then a square to Jupiter is, I always say, even Jupiter can do no wrong, even in square, but it can like overinflate things, like, oh, like expectations, right? Or overcommitting or stuff like that. Okay. The talking to Pluto, and then I also think, Mercury's in trine to Jupiter, which we'll talk about in a minute during this time. Mars is still kind of, Uranus is in beautiful aspect. Thank you, Uranus. We love you when you're being kind. So I think it's mostly like this opposition from Saturn and square to Jupiter in the mix. Okay. But what I wanted to read, this, I have a lot written in this workbook, but the last little bit is, let's see. This new moon asks you to notice who helps you stay balanced, who drains your spark, and what harmony actually looks like when you're not dimming yourself to keep the peace. Idea, deep dive your attachment style this moon cycle. P.S. All planets are direct for a while. It's go time. So with all this energy clustered in Aries, self, drive, initiative, and Pisces, which is like our dreams, it's saying, reminder that your dreams and your independence ask you to notice if you thrive better with the right people in the mix. Do the right people help you reach your dreams? support your independent goals? Or are you noticing your relationships of any kind not supportive of that direction that you want to take, or like to keep you in the past you, or are critical, or just like jealous or insecure in their own ways? Who have you surrounded yourself around? And are they like on this road with you, or are they holding you back, or are they distracting you? Are you somebody that like love is everything, for example? I know a lot of clients where it's like, if love is going well, it's like everything else falls to the wayside. Or even if it's not going well, it's all consuming. So the right people in our lives will be champions of our goals and our support. So that's what this full moon is really highlighting. It's just like, we can take our goals and dreams so much further with the support of people. We don't have to do it all alone. Look at the sky. It's so heavy over here, and then the moon is alone. There is nothing else going on here. So I always say, pay attention, where is the moon in a full moon? It's illuminating. Here's the answer. Here's the missing side of the coin. Here's the opposite energy that's really going to try to find the balance. Funny enough, Libra just rules balance. So when you have all of this pressure of like, okay, I'm breaking out of the fog that we've been in and the emotions and the things I've just been through, and I'm feeling inspired and I'm feeling motivated, do I need maybe somebody to help, support? Could I reach out? Is that scary to you? Look at that pattern. If it's dating, pay attention to the people that you're attracting and like the attachment styles. All of that is really prevalent this moon cycle. Okay. All right. Then I think what I love, we're going to move to the next day. We've got Mercury, the planet of our logical mind, communication, busyness. Still in Pisces, it's direct, but it's still in shadow period until April 8th, reminder. So it is picking up speed, but it's crossing over the degrees that it retrograded. So it's like bringing up, what was that retrograde for? All these kind of reflections are kind of sinking in to be actualized and to continue to organize, make sense of, okay? But it's re-trining Jupiter. This is fantastic, okay? But it happened twice already. So we had Mercury trine Jupiter on February 16th. Jupiter was retrograde during that time. Mercury was direct, okay? So, you know, maybe, and this was the day before the eclipse, what was going on those surrounding days? Just think like the 12th through the 20th, maybe. It's like, what was going on? What ideas or communications, things that you wanted to put into motion, what was going on during that time, okay? And then the second time was March 9th, okay? We had Mercury and Jupiter both retrograde. So it's saying like, okay, February, we had ideas. We had that eclipse, which was the preview eclipse, which is like, okay, the eclipse in Aquarius before the nodes are there. I always say it's like whatever is percolating, whatever you put into motion pays off later, okay? Same with this. It's like the idea, the inspiration, Mercury trine Jupiter, the expansive planet, that bigger picture, that like future oriented, optimistic, lucky, indulgent planet is trying to, in water signs, you guys, this is like, oh, I feel like now emotionally ready for this. Maybe I was really excited in February, March, I was just like in my feels and like I'm overthinking it or insecure about it or doubting it. And now we have it direct. It's feeling optimistic. Reminder, I said this each time we had this. This is a fantastic, beautiful aspect for gratitude. And, you know, when we are giving and we're in a place of gratitude and feeling more optimistic, even if you're going through hard things, I sure am right now, but just the little things, it can be little moments of optimism. We're much more expansive when we're in that frequency, and it's a big part of manifestation is acknowledging the beauty surrounding you and how you can give back to it. So be generous. This is a generous aspect. You might be receiving generosity. Reminder, it's after the moon in Libra, saying like, get the right people around you. You might be getting a sense of helpful people showing up around this full moon cycle. Reminder that the full moon locks in a few weeks of energy. So you could be receiving partnership deals in business, people reaching out, wanting to collaborate, new love, new romance. But first, the full moon saying, but acknowledge what hasn't worked. And we've got all this new energy, and we need to like be brave enough to like leave that way of operating behind, so that this new can enter. And then here comes this beautiful aspect saying like, if you want to manifest something new, or you're ready to put something out there, this is fantastic for announcements, agreements, teaching, publishing, like putting something out there that's like personal. These are water signs, your voice expanding. So it's like bigger picture showing up after some confusion. It's also great for like planning trips or something like that. So if something began mid-February, you reworked it in that early March time, it starts making sense now, okay? And this is active all week, reminder. And I think this is really, really lovely. We've got later in the day, the moon is moving into deep Scorpio, and it's saying like, let's feel everything that we tend to want to hide from ourselves, from others. It's like depth at its best. It's like, I'm feeling like a detective of my emotions, or you're just in research mode and really curious. Can be the vibe of moon in Scorpio. 0 degrees, there we go. And so this is Friday morning. We've got the moon entering Scorpio, okay? And Thursday and Friday into Saturday, we have that Mercury trine Jupiter, okay? So as the moon moves into Scorpio, it's more about, okay, moon in Libra was relationships around our mind. Now we're kind of in the Scorpio of like vulnerability, intimacy. If I'm having relationship issues that brought up in that full moon, the Scorpio is saying, okay, let's take responsibility. Let's excavate our emotions and what are we operating from psychologically, intuitively? What are we absorbing? Feel free to get in the feels, emotions, heal is the vibe. And it's like bullshit detectors in the air. We're kind of feeling through everything, and we're really perceptive during moons in Scorpio, okay? At the same time, Venus will be squaring Pluto. I think that's what's tough about this full moon week, okay? Because Venus is the ruler of this full moon, and during it, it's squaring Pluto, okay? It just happens to be direct on Friday. But we're definitely feeling it in the moon. I think that's why this full moon in Libra is much more about, I think of like Venus squared to Pluto is like obsessiveness. So if you're somebody that's like, oh, if, for example, for dating, I'm starting to talk to somebody and that's all I can think about, and I'm dissecting everything and I'm pulling cards on it, or whatever you like to do, or that's all I can talk about with my friends, and they're just like, here we go again. Or insecurities can come up with Venus square Pluto around money or love, okay? And in Taurus, it's just like security is at the bottom of it, okay? So I was talking to a friend about this earlier in the week. If you're having trouble with one or both Venus ruled things, love, money, what they both have in common is a deep sense of security. With Libra, it airs a little more towards love, romance, relationships in Libra, but because Venus is in Taurus, that other sign that's ruled by Venus is Taurus is much more of that money security side. So both are loud. I don't know which one's louder for you. It could be both. So it's like if you're trying to manifest, for example, love or opportunities or money, it's like my year, like my word for the past few years has been like, just show me security, consistency. And that's might be at the underbelly of everything that you're really trying to get. So let's like maybe even feeling into that sense of security, that craving, that yearning is really going to be important, because Venus square Pluto might bring up the toxic side of this, which is like, you know, I'm feeling insecure here, so I'm going to date the same pattern in a different person. I'm going to be obsessive. I'm going to ignore what needs to be unlocked and instead like overspend, overindulge, overdate, overhookup. Okay. So that's the one heads up. The beauty of it though, it's like in those tough, quote unquote, toxic types of energy, of this energy, there's a reveal if you're paying attention. Okay. So look at that. Look at the stuff. It brings truth to the surface as well. Anything to do with Pluto, it's like truth bomb. It will show power dynamics coming to the surface. You might be like, ooh, that didn't feel right during that full moon. If you're like newly dating somebody, or you're in a partnership, or it could be friend or whatever, you're just like, ooh, that didn't land right. That felt gross. Truth's coming up. How do they really feel? Oh, they talked bad about me and I caught wind of it. Stuff like that. Okay. So try your best not to gossip during this time, or give your power away. Okay. Attachments can be really obvious. If you're having trouble with a boss, I encourage you to look at a parental figure in your life. How is it mirroring? We're having trouble with a friend. What is it mirroring in your security? Trouble with love, same. Look at the mirrors. Look at all your mirrors, okay? Sometimes with this aspect, we can attract a really intense relationship, which can be lovely. We love intensity, right? But I always tell people with Pluto and Venus, say you have this in your birth chart. If you have Pluto square Venus, I always say you can be teed up for love bombing, meaning like obsessive out the gate. If somebody is obsessed with you out the gate, it feels good to the ego, the wounded inner child that wants to be seen. But when it comes in hot and obsessive, it usually is a roller coaster of chaos. Okay. So we want to slow this down. If you meet somebody, this is very exciting and magnetic, and it's the full moon of love, and Venus is in Taurus. Yes, we love that. Just try to temper it if you can, and try to be aware of like the little landmines that are like old patterns popping up in a different person. Okay. So something just like is revealing that you can't ignore anymore, or it's likely within yourself. Okay. It's not subtle. This isn't subtle energy. I think this is the aspect of the week, obviously the full moon. But the fact that Venus rules the full moon and it's square to Pluto doesn't fuck around. Pluto wants to fucking find out. Pluto is going to be in your face, and it's going to make you feel insecure and obsessive. Okay. Telling you it now so that you can clock it and not spiral into that, and then you high vibe it. It's like, ooh, what is this revealing? What mirror is it trying to show? Okay. And then Sunday. That's into Saturday as well. Okay. But Sunday we have Easter. Happy Easter, everybody. And the moon moves into Sagittarius, which is very hopeful. After it's like time in Scorpio, here's the moon into Sag. Later in the evening, okay? So we're gonna have a Scorpio moon most of Sunday as well. So if Sunday is like research, planning, excavating, emotional, all makes sense, especially after that obsessive energy of Venus and Pluto in a full moon. Okay, reflect, feel. Easter Sunday, you know, Easter, it's that first full moon after spring equinox. It feels very like Easter is very symbolic of like resurrection, rising again, rebirth energy, new year, new you, new vibes astrologically. I want to say I should have researched this, but like, you know, Easter is riddled with like pagan rituals. So it's very spiritual, right? And so it's funny. This is like, feel free to like look into that. It feels like a reset for sure. I like that Uranus is sextiling things. Mars too. There can be some, exciting things in the mix, like, or motivation, the gas under your ass, or like fire under your ass, gas under your ass. Oh my God. You gotta light the match then. Okay. I think it's gonna light the match. I think we're gonna have, like I said last episode, this week feels like momentum is moving. Now I do think with things entering Aries the following week, that can be definitely some headline news. Okay. Aries is that sign of like fighting, war, weapons, that kind of stuff. So when we have Mars, the planet of fighting and all of that, meeting in Aries with Saturn, like that's a big one. So we'll talk about that. I think maybe next episode we'll do some like nervous system regulation as well, because the energy has been wild. Okay. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. I think I'll do the numerology lesson first and then get into the birth charts of Carolyn and JFK Jr. Let me just hit pause to get, I'm going to do an old presentation. First, I'll just tell you about the life path numbers, but I'm going to quickly grab an old presentation of the numerology. BRB. All right, we're going to do the life path numerology section first, and then I'll get into the timings of your numerology personal year and the difference between it. And reminder that your numerology year ahead predictive readings, I have those on my website. They're 90 minutes long and only $75. If you haven't gotten that, I'm not just like pushing a sale. I'm like, please get it. It's like, I trickle in the astrology during it. It's not based on your birth chart though, so it's not your personal chart, but it's saying your numerology year ahead, broken down by months. It covers your whole year. Yes, we're into the 4th month, but if you listen back to the past 3 months, you're gonna be like, whoa, and it's gonna make sense for you. So I just highly recommend, it's on my website, grab your numerology year ahead reading. But first, let's talk about life path. So life path is your number that doesn't change. It describes who you're becoming over a lifetime. It describes what you're here to learn, develop, eventually embody. A lot of these things are natural in you, but they come with, like, every number has a high vibe and a tough side to it. And you'll notice when we go over life paths and then we talk about the timings of numerology, it's got the same kind of influences together. Now, life path is based on your full birth date and added up and reduced to a number, okay? So let's just pick a random birthday, 7/1/1986. So 7 plus 1 is 8, plus 1 is 9, plus 9 is, just know that 18, that's a 9 again, plus 8 is 8, plus 6 is, that's a 5 life path, okay? So what you want to do is make sure you're adding it up. If your birthday is July 1st, 1986, you add 7 plus 1 plus 1 plus 9 plus 8 plus 6. You reduce it to a single digit, or caveat, if you add up your whole number and it equals an 11, a 22, or a 33, you keep it that number. Those are the master numbers, okay? So like I'm a 33 life path, master number 33. It can be then deduced to one number, which would be a 6, okay? So check if you're a 2, when you deduce to one number, make sure you're not an 11. If you're a 4, make sure you're not a 22. And then if you're a 6, make sure you're not a 33, okay? And you can get online and you can be like life path calculator if you struggle with numbers or deducing things to one single digit and you want to make sure, am I a master number or not? Pull up a site, free numerology life path calculator. They're probably going to give you a million different types of numbers. Focus on your life path. I always tell people, I'm like, Okay, don't go learning astrocartography, which is nowhere near as important as your birth chart. So don't go looking and obsessing over like pinnacle numbers and like shit like that until you know your master like birth chart in astrology or your life path in numerology. Okay. So my life path ones, these are the leaders. You just think of, the chapter you're in right now for life. It's not the chapter you're in. The life path for you as a one is self, is to be a leader, to initiate, to become yourself without permission from anyone else. So when you have a life path one, you could, sometimes struggle with this and have to unlearn people pleasing or permissions and support or projections and just learn to be doing it your own way. Life will constantly be putting you in situations where you have to trust your instincts first, perhaps. Early in life, you could be proving yourself or learning confidence. Maybe it's the hard way. Later in life, it becomes about maybe it's entrepreneurship or leadership or originality, courage, taking action. The watch outs of the one are burnout from doing everything alone. That can be the tough side of the one, is feeling like it reminds me of like a North Node in Aries. The lesson you have to learn is like to put yourself first, to not be held back by other people or things. And yes, sometimes that can feel lonely and singular. It is the one, but that's when you will feel the most fulfilled. The high vibe of the one is decisive, it's pioneering, it's self-directed. Okay. Life path two, make sure you aren't an 11. Okay. You're here. The two in numerology represents, like, just think of Libra. Just think of life path one as Aries energy. Life path two, you can think of Libra. It's the balance of self versus other, finding the balance in your life. You are here in this lifetime to collaborate, to support, this is a very intuitive number. It's very emotionally wise. You can read emotional dynamics really well, better than most people. It's like a subtle energy, but very like powerful, soft. You learn in this lifetime, I think, of equality, diplomacy, timings, partnerships are significant for a life path two, for better or worse, okay? And intuition is a big one. So please, if you have a life path two, develop your intuition. And you might be very tuned into other people and absorb other people's stuff, but you have to learn to boundaries is probably a life lesson of the two. And then relationships will shape your direction. So choose wisely. That can be a theme of your life, is like the right people. I would say watch out for avoiding conflict. Of course, people pleasing is the two. Trying to rush through things. The two is much more calm and peaceful and flowy. And it's a very big trust. Okay. Learning trust and flow and balance. Don't try to over operate like anybody else. It kind of reminds me of projector energy. And then high vibe is like very emotionally intelligent. You're a connector of people. You could be a really fair, decisive type of person. Peacemaker energy. Just don't give your voice away, right? Anything else with a two? Twos will be the most happy when life feels balanced and relationships feel equal. So pay attention to how you have patterns in relationships. Life path three, fun, chatty, curious. You can think of Gemini energy with life path three. You're here to express something. So your lifetime is about ideas, creativity, bringing humor and lightness into those things, whether that's storytelling or like whatever you're obsessed with learning, you're meant to share it. And I always say with the three, it's like whatever medium you prefer. This could be writing, speaking, teaching, mentoring, guiding. So if you're more of an intuitive pull, you could be writing or like mentoring. If you're more of a chatty, fun, you could be the one on TikTok or having a YouTube or just like being known for your wit and your timing and your voice. You could be singing. So life is going to nudge you towards visibility and communication. So even if you resist it, expression is a big thing that you need to find out how to like work with. Okay. So The three is very fun. I think of like kind of juvenile in a good way, like young at heart. So if you find yourself feeling too serious or pessimistic, get back to your life path. Obviously, numerology is much more simplified than, like, of course, I would rather you look at your whole birth chart, but to simplify it, I love sometimes like a bigger simplified thing. If you're moving through your life and things feel stuck, the life path 3 is saying, is it fun? Do I feel curious? Curiosity is your number, like in a nutshell. Okay. So I think this path is about not just communication, sharing your voice in whatever way, but it's joy is kind of the vibe, fun, depth as well as here in the 3. It becomes wisdom over time. I would say the watch out for the 3 is being a little like squirrel. I'm into so many things. I'm curious about everything, but you're meant to like kind of master something and share about it in your own unique way. The high vibe version of a 3 is like, think of magnetic communicator. This is also the dabbler. So you can do many things very well, and you have a clear sense of how you voice it. Maybe you're blunt and that's your shtick. Maybe you're relatable and that's your shtick. It doesn't matter. It's just like what's authentic to your voice. The 4s in life path 4s, you're here to like build something real. When I see a 4, I'm like, okay, they have this like architect type of energy. And so you could thrive best with like systems, stability, reliability, structure. The 4 makes me think of like kind of like a Virgo, Taurus, earthy energy, or all the earth signs, Capricorn too. Life may bring responsibility early if you have a life path 4. It's very kind of like Saturn. This reminder, we're leaving a 4 numerology like we talked about. And what did I say? It's like adulting. Get it together. You'll be standing upon it for years to come. So while a life path 4, it's like gets better with age. Just think of like that, like Saturn, like fine wine. It's like the 4 feels a little like struggly maybe, or like I've put in a lot of work. You've had a lot of responsibilities, but it is so powerful. It's like you become the steady person, the successful person. It's like the slow game. And you are reliable to other people. You are unshakable, unwavering. And so the tough sides and watch outs of the 4 is being too rigid, a little too like meh, or stuck in your ways, or unwavering. Okay. Also carrying too much alone. This can be like an independent, like I find like my purpose in my struggle. Like I've only earned it if it's been hard work. And 4s can really appreciate earning things, and that's going to feel really good. But pay attention to your stories around like things could also be easy for you. Okay. The high vibe is like the grounded builder, the one that creates longevity. What's the word I'm looking for? It's like when you your life lives on from the things that you've created for others. So it's you really crave stability, and put in the structures in place and put in the hard work and create stability. And who feels stable in your life? Your health, your physical body is important. You get better and better, and try not to be too black or white, too rigid. Reminds me a little of that Virgo side of things. And the Capricorn of like, I've got to earn it, and I only find fulfillment and success if I'm like, or I only find that I'm happy if I'm succeeding, and I only feel like I earn my love and acknowledgement through my successes. It's like you are deserving, but you make an impact. Ooh, you create the things that really people utilize and makes people's life better. And maybe you're a little more pragmatic and practical. If you're listening and you're like, nope, maybe you're more about like being that steady, safe landing place for people. I think of the 4 pillars, the 4 walls, the home, the health, the happiness. Okay. The 5, very different. The 5, as you heard, we're entering in April 1st, is like the 5, when I know life path 5s, even if they have really some rigid astrology placements or particular placements, the 5 is like the one moving all the time, or like never feels quite settled, or wants to live and travel abroad a lot, or is just like, if things feel too calm, they're just like, look, I gotta move. I gotta do something else. But if you have a life path 5, you're meant to experience life fully and help other people adapt and change. It's through your life experiences where you can really share a lot. Just like the 4, it's like, what have you put in the work? You get to share that with others, and like this responsibility and this payoff. The 5 is like the experimentation that you've created in your life, the try, fail, learn, grow. You get to be like, hey, don't do what I did, or hey, here's the fast track, and I learned by taking the leap, so you don't have to experiment as much. And you share your wisdom. And freedom is huge for a 5. Okay, this is a huge lesson. It's not optional for this life path number. So if you feel restricted, if you're in a very like boring 9 to 5 and it isn't gonna cut it, if you have a life path 5, you must explore, expand, travel, whether it's literal travel or within your mind through learning, studying, surrounding yourself with people from different ethnicities, backgrounds, cultures, religions. There can be a lot of reinvention with a life path 5. A lot of unexpected pivots can happen, new environments, all welcomed. But through this, you're meant to be an explorer, excavator of life experiences so that you can share it with the world. Watch out for restlessness and like without direction. So if you find yourself just like change, and you're never sitting and dealing with what is making you want to leave. Like I get a lot of people in readings, I don't know if they're life path 5, this is just an example, that are like, they'll book an astrocartography and they're like, I'm unhappy, I think it's the place and I want to move. And then I look at their birth chart and it's like, you just aren't facing some emotional things or regulating or being in your body. And it's more of an anxious reaction of like, I don't feel at home here. Maybe this is the solution, is to uproot. And then you feel the same in that new place. So that's a heads up with the 5. But the high vibe version is like, you are a catalyst for movement and opportunity. This makes me think of Uranus energy. Maybe you have strong Aquarius Uranus energy or aspects from Uranus in your birth chart. 5 is fun, it's romantic, it's playful, and just like make sure that you're also like accountable and like bringing consistency. It reminds me of I often tell people that don't have a lot of earth in their chart, it's like they're not going to want a rigid approach, but just think of like bookend your day with something consistent, like a ritual or something, and then play in between. So if you're somebody that's always hopping around, maybe you get a really affordable apartment that is like your base camp, like feel tethered somehow, but it's got to feel free. The life path, you can't be trapped in like rigid relationships, jobs, or lifestyles. Okay. And explore so that we can all benefit from what you find. Life path 6, you are the nurturers of the path numbers. The 6 makes me think of like Cancer mixed with Virgo. Okay. So you are here to care, guide, create harmony. You are the people person, often the one that keeps like connection. You're like the warm beating heart of connections, whether it's family, friends. You maybe are a great host or hostess. You create warmth wherever you are. So this number is really highly connected to like whether it's family or community or clients or students. You're learning healthy boundaries is kind of a theme of the 6, and compassion. The watch out for a 6 is absolutely over giving, over nurturing, identifying with that side of yourself. My 33 reduces to a 6. And so whenever I like first learned numerology, I think we've all Googled this at some point in our lives. I was like, a 6, I don't really relate until I got into like caretaking my mom through cancer. I was like, oh, so 6 coded. But then when I learned about the master numbers, which was much later in life, I was like, that feels so much more me, because it's mixed with the 3 energy of like fun and lighthearted and communication, etc. But we'll get to the 33 in a minute. But the 6 is like, I think of home health routine is important don't neglect your health. It's part of the lesson of the six. Because I think of like, the overused expression, put on your mask first. Like if you are caretaking, you can overemphasize other people's needs and neglect yourself. So please put yourself first. There can be a rescuing, a martyr. Like I said, your whole worth could be tied to how you give and support and nurture. But at its best, like you provide great nurturing to yourself, and then you can teach through that wisdom. It's very intuitive, emotionally intelligent number. So it's like you're meant to mentor, teach, and guide others to feel completely nurtured themselves. High vibe is like steady, heart-centered leadership. I do like the six in leadership roles. It feels very much like a kind, supportive, real, tough love leadership that comes from the heart. Anything else with six? Your home. Make that a priority, like your space. The sixes, if you don't have like your kind of retreat like space, it can feel unsettling. So make that a priority. Look into things like feng shui, or interiors might be a call to you, like decorating or just enjoying those things. Okay. Life path sevens. These are, the deep, like profound number is the seven. I think of the wise, the spiritual. You're meant to understand what's beneath the surface, or like what connects us all. The seven reminds me of Neptune and the 12th house, funny enough. And it's like the seven reminds me of the mystic, the researcher. You can be more analytic in this way. Like I think of like Neptune 12th house is like behind the scenes work. So you could be like coding and working alone or from home, but you also could be the one creating alone. I think of like the author behind the scenes, locking away in a cabin and just like creating. Or you could be the spiritual guide, the person that's had to struggle through subconscious patternings and be woken through life struggles to then share that wisdom. Life will keep pulling you towards truth, towards spirituality, or psychology if it's more practical, or both, or like a specialized knowledge. I think of a researcher of some sort. Okay, so it can be very analytical, don't get it twisted, but ideally it's kind of a blend. And you're not meant to skim the surface. This is a deep, deep number. And I would say the watch out for the seven is certainly numbing out, kind of addictive tendencies, isolation, hermit energy, or just I think of like JFK Jr. is a seven. So like the tough side of seven, and Neptune in Pisces, 12th house, he has a lot of Neptune aspects in his chart, is projection, smoke and mirrors. He had to deal with a lot of that towards him, but it could be like, what's real, what's reality, and what is my inner internal dreamlike wonder. So the seven can get caught up in like dreaming it and not acting, or can be caught up being projected upon or projecting on others, feeling too much, very sensitive people, which is why the low vibe turns them to potentially isolating or numbing out. But the best way to utilize the seven energy is to create, to inspire, to gain wisdom, question life and its meaning, and then share that knowledge. The high vibe is a deep intuitive thinker. You're meant to think differently, and you're meant to share that with others. Okay. All right, life path eights. Only number in numerology that represents the material world. If you have a life path 8, you're meant to work with power, with money, with influence, but in a conscious way. Key. The tough side of the 8, I've seen life path 8s struggle hard with money, or be have very lucrative, like high-powered paying jobs. If you have a life path 8, you probably, obviously depends on upbringing and like if you've had an easy path in life versus struggles, but you're probably drawn to high paying careers or high influence stuff. This is very much a leadership number. When I see life path eights, I'm like, ooh, they have a fierce determination. It's like a dog with a bone. They will not give up. Okay. You are meant to have a path of resources, finding resources so that you can make an impact. That's key. High vibe it is like through that leadership and this power and these resources that you accumulate, are you going to do good with it? Or are you going to be in an ego trip and power struggle? Low vibe of the eight. Okay. So life will teach you how to manage your money ethically, sustainably, and make something major with it. Or just learn how to handle money, power, and authority well. At first, you could, like, I think every number comes with insecurity before it thrives. So you could earlier in life, like, doubt your skills, or have an insecure moment, which then kind of turns this beast on of like, let me prove them wrong. Okay. So watch out for control, struggles, extremes with money. We do not want a life path 8 gambling, risking their money, like, have support around those things. And then, because it can slip through your hands, and then you can, like, though, if I saw an 8 lose their money, they'd gain it in, like, very quickly in a different way. High vibe is strategic, respected, authority, very determined, very at its spiritual. The 8 is the infinity. What goes around comes around. So karma, rewards from past lives. And when you do good with your money, it comes back around. When you look at money of like, oh, how I want to manifest more so that I can make more impact. Okay. Power stance reminds me of the 8. Yeah. And if you've had struggles with authority figures in your life, sometimes I think of the 1s and the 8s as like, maybe you're meant to like work alone or for yourself, or climb, continue, like, don't have too many people in the way of your success. Okay, the last life path before the master numbers is life path 9. It reminds me the 9 can kind of have the wisdom of all the numbers. Maybe it's like you are here with the 9 to complete cycles and help other people's grow through the transitions that you've experienced. It's a very wise number. Makes me think of full moon energy of like, what needs to shed, what were you transforming into, what have I outgrown. It reminds me of kind of Scorpio energy of like, I've had to transform, death, rebirth cycles. The 9 is the last number. It's like, okay, what do I need to take into the next life? There could be a lot of lessons around accomplishing things, but then also needing to like release and shed and let go. This is a very compassionate number, very, I think of like the people that want to make impacts, think of global perspective, humanitarian perhaps, often ahead of their time. If you're a 9, you're ahead of your time, emotionally, spiritually. Letting go becomes like perhaps a recurring theme though. So the tough side of the 9 is like maybe as you're growing and learning to love and mature this number, it's like a lot of releasing, shedding, letting go that creates so much wisdom of like, what is important? How can I make impacts? It reminds me of Aquarian energy as well, that humanitarian side of the 9. And then the Scorpion side of it is like the shedding and outgrowing iterations of yourself, other people's like relationships or jobs. Like you can outgrow it. Okay. Watch out for, I think, like carrying too much on your shoulders of like, I've got to be responsible for making such a change and impact. These are the people wanting to lead like charges and like, when stuff's going on in the world like it is now, a 9 is probably the one. Let's create a movement around this. Let's speak out. This isn't okay. Like, here's why. And people will look to you. If you don't have what that thing is for you, I encourage you as a life path 9 to find that purpose that's bigger than yourself and get involved. You're going to feel your most fulfilled when you are involved with something bigger than you and you're making an impact. And you're extremely wise, and people are going to be like, I notice in that person, they've been there, they've got the like history behind it, they've done it, they've rolled their sleeves up. Okay. High vibe is this wise humanitarian. Okay. But don't hold the pressure of the world on your shoulders. All right. All right. For my master numbers, 11s, 22s, and 33s. Okay. It's just like it doesn't mean you're more special. I want to make that clear. If anything, the master numbers come with more hardship. Okay. So with the master number, I think they're like a higher voltage version of the numbers, of that base number. And they come with like, it's like bigger responsibility, usually take longer to grow into. And you might not say, I was learning this as a teenager. I would not relate to it. Now that I'm literally in a spiritual business and a spiritual teacher, and I've been through fucking hell and back, I'm like, oh yeah, thank you. That life path 33 makes sense. So like it doesn't tend your life path. If you're a master number, you grow into it. It might not make sense in the beginning. You're more in that single digit. Okay. So if you're a life path 11, you're a master version of the 2. So you might relate to the 2 most of your life until you get into this master number. And the difference is the 11, you're meant to translate intuition into guidance for others. Very intuitive number. Reminder that the 2 is intuitive. The 2 is about relating. There's going to be relationship lessons in the 11 as well. Who is good to partner with in all forms and who is not. So it brings a lot of sensitivity and insight and strong inner knowing, but early life can feel overwhelming because you kind of feel everything. Okay. When I see little kids that have like an 11, I'm like, oh, they are going to be sensitive, wise little beings beyond their time. So you could be a sensitive person, highly sensitive being for the master numbers for sure. And then over time, this becomes leadership through inspiration. Okay. I would assume if you have life path that are master numbers, you're probably have had to fall into spirituality or psychology or making sense of human behaviors and patterns because you're so sensitive. Okay. Watch out for, as an 11, I would say anxiety from overstimulation. Like I said, highly sensitive to whether it's sounds, foods, environments, you feel it, other people, okay? So you are the intuitive messenger as the 11. Learn intuition or spirituality or healing. You're meant to share it, at least do it for yourself. And even if you're in practical careers, just know that you will be blending that natural intuitive knowledge is going to be like your secret weapon. Okay. If you're a 22, this brings a spiritual leadership note to the 4. Okay. So you're here to build something that impacts like a large group of people. This is, think of it as that master builder. What did we know about the 4? Practical, hard work, structure, things that you create or build or idealize or like visionary. You don't have to be literally building things, but you put a master number on it. It's like, I think this is like the master builder path. This is the big vision, visionary moment with practical execution. Okay. So when you're aligned and you're a 22, you create structures that last way beyond you. Why can't I think of the name? Legacy. Thank you. I'm like, I struggled with that with the 4 too. 4s and 22s, you build legacy things that last beyond you, long lasting things. Watch out for, just like the 4, perfection, being too hard on yourself where you just feel paralyzed and you don't do anything instead. And don't take the weight of the world, similar to the 9s, on your shoulders. But it's bringing in building of the 4 with impact. That's the spiritual kind of leadership vibe of it. High vibe, visionary architect is how I would describe you, that makes real change in the world. So maybe you're building a company or a retreat center that touches so many people's lives, or a humanitarian cause, and you're like coming up with structures or things in place that solve big problems. But there's a heart to it. That's the difference of the master number of 22. There's more of that feeling and emotional depth to the 4. And lastly, life path 33. And I will say, yeah, there's 55s and 44s, but those aren't primary numbers. That's why we only do the 1s, 2s, 3s. Okay. Life path 33, you are a master version of the 6. Reminder that the 6 is the nurturer, the caretaker, the support, that warm heart, building that home feeling for people, coming home to themselves, that warmth. And you're here to teach compassion. The 33 is the master teacher of the 3 master numbers. So I would say it's through your life experience of like, oh, I've been through this, and you don't stay stuck in that too much. You just persevere. It's more of a rare energy if you're a 33. It's a service through wisdom. It's also creativity. I think of emotional leadership, and many 33 people become mentors or healers if you want to go more the healing route, if you want to help support others, or you want to be a guide. Once you start trying, or once you stop trying to carry everything for everyone else, you can be put in that role of teaching, mentoring, guiding, healing. Okay. If you get caught up in the overemphasizing the 6 of like, I'm in the trenches, caretaking, worrying about everybody else. This could be the parent that just has like, the mom energy, which you'd be great at, but it's like you even have a bigger purpose of beyond mothering and caretaking your family. You are meant to share that wisdom in a bigger way. Watch out for like burning out for sure, emotional burnout, taking on responsibility of too many people in your life, the connector, the peacekeeper. And then at its best, the 33 is that heart-centered teacher for the collective. This is somebody like, I don't know if Oprah's a 33, but she's coming to mind, right? So like, it's through her wisdom that she shares things, and then she impacts at a bigger scale. That's the life path 33. But the 33, probably the 22 and the 11 as well, come with struggles in order to gain that wisdom. So like I said, it doesn't make us better to be a master number or more special. It actually is like responsibility, hardship. And that's when you can really master your path. And getting too caught up in your single digit form and too overemphasized in it will hold you back from that master number path. Okay. All right. I will now pull up the timing part of numerology, which is, what's this year for you, 2026? What are you moving through? Your life path always is the same. Like, I'm always at 33, so I'm always going to be challenged to share my guidance and my knowledge as like a teacher, a guide, or a healer. But I'm in a collective 1. What does that mean? The 1 is brand new 9-year cycle, new initiatives, leadership. So this is the year where I got to take that 33 and be putting it out there. Hello, launching a YouTube, sharing my knowledge in a way that's unique to me to hopefully inspire, help, heal, guide. Okay. So the numerology life path is forever, but the timings that you're in will say what part of that life path is like announced this year and what are the themes that you're moving through. So let me grab my presentation. I'm gonna pause again. Okay, this is from a presentation that I did for like a team at Google. I won't do the whole presentation, but I will have it on the screen for you to screenshot your personal numerology number. But at first, numerology, it's numbers 1 through 9, right? For the personal year cycles, we don't do a 22, 11, or a 33. So numerology is 1 through 9, and it builds upon whichever number in the sequence you are. It's like they represent different phases. Those like move in order and build upon each other. So I'm in a collective, I'm in a personal year one, and the collective is also in a personal year one, not personal, a collective year one. So regardless of your number, we've got one energy on it. Okay. So last year, 2025 was a collective 9, which is like the year I was telling everybody, regardless of your personal year last year, the collective 9 brought in a lot of lessons of like, let's see if you're going to pass this test. Are you going to continue to operate this way, or are you going to finally let it go? It was a releasing year. Lessons over and over and over. I thought I've got this out, and it's like showing up in a different person or a different job or a different experience. So you had to let it go. So this year, 2025, we're all in a collective 1. It is a fresh new slate, a new beginning. It is the year to take chances, take risks, regardless of your personal year. The 1 is giving a little oomph to everybody's year. Whereas last year, the 9 brought a little downer to everybody's year. This year, the collective energy being in a 1, I love it. It is fresh. The only thing I'll say in the 1, you have to take the first step. You have to be bold. You have to take the risk this year. Don't sit on the sidelines and watch everybody else do it. Yeah, we can be afraid in the 1, imposter syndrome, fear of failure. Just fail fast in the 1, try it, do it. You know, what's the worst can happen? If you sit and do nothing, you'll just always wonder. So we've started a whole new 9-year cycle this year collectively, but you might be in a 4, and then you're continuing the cycle. Okay, so let's get into the next slide. Personal numerology year. How do you calculate it? So your master number, or I keep calling it master number because I'm master 33. Your life path is your full birth date. In personal numerology years, which is timings and predictive, we do not add your birth year. We do your birth day, your birth month, and 2026. Okay, it's on this screen if you want to read it. So say your birth month is March and your birthday is the 3rd. That's 3 plus 3 is 6. And then you add it to 2026, which is a 1, because 2 plus 2 plus 6 is a 1. So this person, if you had a March 3rd birthday, that is a 7 personal year that they are in, because 3 March plus 3 born on the 3rd is 6 plus 1 2026 is 1, 7. You'd be in a 7 year. Okay. So the personal year is the road you are on all year long. It helps you keep focused, that main destination, that main theme. The personal numerology year numbers have high vibe and low vibe, just like the life paths that we just went over. You'll notice similar themes. And I tend to see in the first like half of the year, we're getting used to the number. We've got kind of the shadow sides of the number that we're bumping up against. But by the end of the year, we are mastering this number's energy. It is numerology personal year numbers are my favorite. I've been doing those recorded numerology readings for a long time. And because I personally find them so important. In my workbook, I have the monthly numerology each month. Okay. It's my favorite thing. I'm not just sharing something I don't care about. I already talked about this collective energy. Okay, if you're in a personal 1 year, and everybody pay attention to this one, because regardless of your personal year, we're experiencing this. The 1, you got to put yourself out there. This is a new 9-year cycle. Last year, you did a lot of wrapping things up. If you're in a personal year 1 as well, ooh, you did the damn thing last year. Applause. 2026 is going to feel fresh and new, especially starting in April, since we get that 5-month energy with it. Okay. You're synced with the collective year. This is easy. Okay. If you read anything about numerology out in the world, you can claim it as your own. If you have my workbook, claim it as your own. Each month I break it down. I won't read all of these slides to you because this has been such a long episode. If you're listening to this on Spotify, just take a peek down at your phone, take a screenshot of your numerology. Okay, here's personal year 1s. Here's the 2. The 2 will be all about relationships, balance, timings. It slows things down a little. Reminder, we're in the collective 1, so it's going to be less slow for you than the average 2 year. Last year, I hope you did some fun, exciting leaps of faith and stepped into like independence. In this year, you get to find the balance and slow things down. The toughest part of a 2-year is it feels a little slow. The best part of a 2-year, especially with a collective one, is you get the chance to like feel in flow, intuitive, and address relationship patterns, people pleasing. Okay. Reminder, I go really in depth with these with the numerology recorded readings on my website. Okay. And you might want to listen to all of these because you're somewhere in the cycle and you're going to continue. You can look back at it too. 3-year, fun, favorite year. The 3 is my favorite year. I'm partial to it. I'm a 33, so maybe that's why. But the 3 is the find your voice, share your voice. It's fun, it's busy, it's social, and it's exciting, especially with the collective one involved. Share your voice, write, speak, teach, mentor, guide, or learn. Be curious this year, okay? You're going to have to learn to confront things and voice your needs and communicate your needs. 4, adulting year. This is the year I tend to see people like buy properties or make big commitments that really pay off later or even this year. And this is like, I think of the 4 pillars, the structure. You're creating something, you're finding balance. It's a slow year though. It's one of those frustratingly kind of slow years of like, I'm planning and I'm organizing and I'm not finding the immediate hit. But luckily you've got the collective one on your side, which speeds things up. That's why I love 2026, you guys. Regardless if you have a slow, boring number like the 4, not gonna lie, the 1 saves the day, okay? If you had a 4 last year with the collective 9, God bless you, okay? It was, yeah, that was rough. So how to work with this, it's like, please be diligent. Don't get too perfectionist that you sit and do nothing. The 4 was the year that I, got my condo. I launched my moon events, and like I'm still working on that 5 years later. Stuff like that you put into motion can really be long standing in the 4. 5, this is the year I quit my 9 to 5, change everything, blow shit up. The 5 with the collective one, this is a fast year, okay? If you like control, this is your year to like balance and flexibility. The 5, if you are feeling like stuck and stagnant, this is your year to do something about it. Movement, change, change the job, change the status of your life, unstuck yourself. Freedom is a huge. So in the 5, what or who is in the way of your freedom? It's going to get very loud this year and you're going to be like, I can't fucking do it anymore. Okay. Take a chance, do it different. Don't overcommit so that surprises can find you this year. This is the year everything could change. Like everything could change. And that's very exciting. Sometimes destabilizing. That's the one heads up of the 5. Okay. Protect your nervous system. The 6, if you're single, I think of the 5 as like you're dating and you can meet people and travel certainly in the 5, but the 6 is like, I'm whoever, I would say, what and who is worthy of long-term commitment becomes very clear in the 6. So you can have breakups, friend breakups, moves in the 6, and like family, like boundaries need to be had, cutting people off could be the tough side of the 6. Caretaking is a big, like in my 6 years when my mom got cancer, not to scare people, I'm just sharing, like I was a caretaker. I moved to be with her, the 6. I had a friend breakup because when I went through that hell, I noticed it brings a lot of clarity of who's there in your corner and who's not. So maybe you go through something that makes that really clear. At its best, this is the year you can meet a long-term committed relationship. If you already are in a relationship, this is the year where I'm like engagement, marriage, moving in together, something that develops the commitment longer. This can also be one of those years where people buy homes or move or change environments, welcome families, family planning, pregnancy, all of those things. Home, health, happiness, and who feels like home, and long-term commitment, what work feels like long-term commitment. But this feels more and more like personal relationship focused year. In the 1, this could be new people that feel like home, new environments, etc. because we have the collective 1 colored into it. The personal 7 year, It's going to be fucking slow, like the 4. Thank God for the 1 collective year for you as well. The 7 is the hermit year. It is the creative year. This is the year I lived in Portland with no friends, but I created my workbook. So whatever you're doing this year, I always say when you leave a 7, you know yourself better than you ever have. If you thought you know yourself as you enter this year and you're in a 7, get ready. You're going to have some deep revelations. It's a highly spiritual year, highly intuitive, highly creative. So whether you're behind the scenes planning a big launch, like you get a book deal, or you're building a website, or you're planning something behind the scenes, it's your creative genius year. The watch outs of the 7 is numbing out, avoiding being too hermity or too closed off or too secluded. If you're highly sensitive, or you're dealing with mental and emotional stuff, it's your year to get like the right therapy and healing. And if you're already spiritual and you're in a spiritual business, I love the 7 for spiritual business owners or creative business owners, or if you do those things on the side. Love a 7. Because that's the year where you're meant to share your wisdoms, particularly by the end of the year, the things you've gained, in the behind the, it's very retreat, like at its highest vibe. Take a retreat, host a retreat, create that energy. You're highly sensitive, so protect your vibes this year. And whether you create or mentor, teach, guide, it's share it, okay? Try not to get too caught up with things, like forcing things to happen in the 7. Like I said, 2026 is gifting you the 1 and the energy. So explore new, like creative things, new spiritual things, but don't get too frustrated that things don't take off in a 7, because next year would be your 8 year. If you're in an 8 year personal 8 year paired with a collective 1, this is fast, okay? The 8 is the only number in numerology represents the material world. So this is a big year for money. In the 8, I spent a lot on my business. I got like brand consultant. I redid my website. I moved to LA, very expensive. I invested a lot of things. It was a big money year coming in, but mostly going out. So I like to remind people, a lot of times people hear, oh, you're going to make so much money in your 8 year, but you're also probably spending a lot. Watch your money. This was the year I finally got like a tax person, and like hired help, stuff like that. So invest in yourself, invest in your dreams, be a leader. This is a leadership year. So if you're in a normal 9 to 5, expect like moving up, taking on a leadership role, or dealing with like ego conflict and people trying to control you. And that's a lesson that you need to get out of. Be responsible with your money. Hard work of previous years can start paying off big time this year. Just think of like, what did you build in the 4? The 8, it's like reaping the rewards. It's karma. 8, infinity. Okay. Be strategic. Watch out for burnout. Don't overdo it. This is a fast number with a collective 1, fast. All right, my personal 9 years. I feel for you because I was in my 9 year last year. Lucky for you though, you have a collective 1 year involved. So I think with the 9, this is the year where what is no longer working becomes abundantly clear. Are you going to be pulled into past patterns, past ways of doing things that aren't working? You're just going to keep hitting a wall. Release it. Be brave enough to say goodbye to the wrong things. Think full moon energy, release, let go, so that the new can show up. I love the collective 1 year for you because it's trying to reveal, like, if you try something new and you release the thing that's holding you back, you can very quickly move into the next new cycle. Because the high vibe of the 9 is like a reward of all the past 9 years. Like, we're kind of feeling it. The toughest side, we have to release and let go of a lot of things. But with the collective 1, I think it's going to be really clear of like the new things that you're moving into. Okay. So finish things, simplify things. It's not a year where a ton of payoff comes in. It's usually like a finishing up. There can be a lot of aha moments and ideas. I had tons of ideas, and I had my moon method I created in the 9 year, but it doesn't fully take off sometimes in the 9. Okay. So be patient. You're very wise. You're getting downloads. It's a highly spiritual year. It's a very mature, it's the graduation year. You're maturing. you will enter next year completely like, oh, I can tackle anything. I am so wise. Okay. So don't try to start things too soon or complete things or get impulsive or try to rush through this 9 year. Let it reveal what's no longer working, who's no longer working. You might have to say some tough goodbyes in the 9. But with the collective 1, I think simultaneously it's trying to show you the hope of what's to come. Okay. So those are my numerology personal years. They continue to build upon each other. And there's a compounded, like if you're in a 1 year like I am, it's a clean slate. What we said bye to last year there's no room for it here. You might be tempted to go back to that comfort zone. The 9 is the comfort zone. And then the next year, we're adding in from the leadership leaps, we add in the 2 of finding the balance and the right people that can take those goals further. In the 3, you got to share your voice of what you've learned. And maybe you're on stage or something like you're launching a course or a book or you're studying. The 4, then your head's down, structuring it, and so on and so forth. Okay. All right. Pausing again to pull up the birth charts. This is a long episode. You still with me? All right. I'll try to make this quick. I'm going to want to talk forever about this. Okay. We're doing Carolyn Basset Kenedy's birth chart. And I just really want to, as quick as I can, like a birth chart reading is so specific, layered. It takes me over an hour to describe it to you. So let's do the quick and dirty. At first glance, I'm like, ooh, I love that she's an Aquarius rising. When people have Aquarius risings, it's one of the more rare risings that I see. It's how you present, it's how you take on life. Aquarius is the visionary, the thought leader, the future forward thinker, the friend to all. So people view her, she probably made everybody feel like a friend. She was friends with so many people, but then we see her moon is in Cancer. So she's like, the real her, only a select few people that felt like home and family to her really got the authentic side of her. So she was actually pretty selective of like who got her full, like deep heart and emotional, empathetic side was more saved for the people that are very specific to her in her life. But out the gate, she's got Mars and Venus conjunct in Aquarius, very close to her rising sign. This is a very passionate placement, Mars conjunct Venus. This is, and in your Aquarius, not afraid to stand out. We can just think of how she presents herself, ascendant first house. She's somebody that probably, like the show depicted, had her own style, wasn't afraid to be unique in that, stand on it, really like passionate being and a force. When Mars is on the rising sign, these people are forces. It's in Aquarius, which is very accepting of people, perspectives, wanting to gather all of that uniqueness and being very open-minded. And Aquarius energy is the visionary, wanting to be part of something bigger than herself. But this is very passionate. Okay, Venus retrograde, there's a lot of internalized lessons or emotional depth around money, love, partnerships. It's in her first house, so it directly impacts how she shows up in the world. Pretty on the nose, right? But when Venus and Mars are together, this is the masculine and the feminine. I wonder if she was a little bit more like blunt, a little inner masculine, a leader. She was probably seen as like a creative, unique, visionary thought leader. Just out the gate, she leads with that, okay? Obviously, there's way more depth into a person, but that's, she's leading with it. Her sun is in Capricorn, and her south node, which she came into this life with a lot of experience, is in the 10th house, which is Capricorn's house. Capricorns are hardworking, goal-oriented, motivated, not afraid to put in the work, not afraid to roll up their sleeves, to put in the slow, steady, build upon, and like reach success. Capricorns are very consistent, grounded. With all this exciting Aquarian energy, it's like she doesn't have as much of that serious, stoic side of Capricorn. She's leading with a much more open and accepting, intriguing, different, quirky vibe. But her sun is in the 12th house. 12th house is that hidden house. So she's very determined, very hardworking, but in the 12th house, she's also very sensitive. She's an emotional empath. She's wise beyond her years. This is an old soul. She's probably feels people and their energy. We see that with her human design as well. That's JFK Jr.'s. She's an emotional empath. She absorbs people's emotions, magnifies them, which can feel overwhelming, especially with people who have 12th house suns. I'm like, 12th house sun people need spirituality, therapy, or creativity so that they can get back to and some alone time. It's very important. This is very social and interactive placement out the gate with the Mars Venus conjunct on her ascendant in the sign of community, groups, friends. Extremely social, extremely passionate. But seeing her sun in the 12th house, I'm like, ooh, she was also an extreme sponge to people's energy. And if she overdid it, she would probably need to overcorrect and be in that kind of harmony energy. And certainly after she started dating John, she had to be more in that 12th house, which is a shame because she's so vibrant. Her Mercury, I love, 29 degrees Sagittarius in the 11th. Blunt as hell is my guess. Funny, direct, shock value. It's not like, obviously with a moon in Cancer, really sweet and kind and giving and caring. So I'm not saying rude, but blunt, man. She probably called people on their shit or was sassy or quick-witted or always had something to say. It's in the 11th house, which is Aquarius's domain. So wherever Mercury goes in your chart, you're busy there. It's the sign of your mind, your like knowledge, how you communicate. So she communicates and has a mind. This double 11th in Sag is very open-minded, playful, blunt, curious, insatiable curiosity, you know, probably interested in the bigger picture, not so much the details of things, but like, I don't know, it's like she could see the bigger story and the why and like how to bring it together. 11th house is the house I think of for PR and marketing and stuff. So she had a mind for it. We see that in the show. We do know that that was her real job. So I would say if I was doing her reading, I'd be like, ooh, your Mercury's 29 degrees, the strongest placement in her chart. In Sag, which usually you hear Mercury doesn't like Sag, but I'm like, this is so strong. I hope you're utilized in your job as like forward facing or interactive with people, clients, communicating, being kind of the mastermind visionary or voice or interactive with people. It's a great gift. She had the capacity to, I think with Mercury in the 11th and Sag is like, see how people needed to be communicated to and kind of match that. And it just feels really fun. But like with the Capricorn sun, she's on business. She knows she's successful. We see in the show and probably in reality too, like her job and her career, she was probably really proud of that. When sun is our vitality and confidence and it's in Capricorn, Capricorns get a lot of confidence through succeeding. And I'm not saying like money hungry success. It can be for some Capricorns for sure. But it's like, I want to feel like I am like working towards something. And when that got taken from her, I think that could be really an identity crusher for sure. And then Mercury being in Sag in the 11th, I'm like, she needs to be like interacting with people and social and all of it. Her south node, so her north node is here in Gemini in the 4th house. This is her destiny, where she needed to grow, get out of her comfort zone, and where like she's meant to like succeed, like her purpose, her destiny. But the opposite sign in house is always where people come into this life with a lot of success, natural talents, natural abilities. Her south node, even though the symbol isn't here, very close to her MC, which is the career point in the birth chart. 10th house, career, MC, what you're known for out in the world. In Sag, this is somebody paired with a sun in Capricorn, work, career, goals, what she's doing out in the world. That is natural. She's a natural work ethic, natural at like wanting to be out there. Like, it doesn't surprise me with the South Node. She's naturally gifted, very close to the MC in her career, known for it before she met John, right? In Sagittarius, it makes me think of like when somebody has an MC in Sag, I'm like, we don't want you in a 9 to 5 desk job. We want you interacting with people, maybe travel, or just like it's more of like bigger picture, freedom. We need freedom in the workplace with Sagittarius, and flexibility. Okay. And fun. Sag is like indulgent and it's like exciting. Okay. So she's naturally very of the world, Sagittarian South Node, open-minded, fun, messy, playful, honest, hardworking though in the 10th house. She had it on lock. Her destiny was actually to step more into Gemini and 4th house. So Gemini is like finding her voice, taking the big picture and blending it. If I was doing her reading, say she didn't pass, MC in Sag, ruler of Sag in the 5th house in Gemini. So I'd say you probably have a career that's not a typical desk job, not a 9 to 5, MC in Sag. The ruler in the 5th house, that's creativity, self-expression, or passion-led business. In Gemini, I would say it can be more of that communication, interaction, logical side of creativity. So I would ask this person, are you in the creative field, but more of that like interpersonal juggling projects, people, and mingling in your world, or more of that practical side of creativity? Which makes me think of like for her, it's like she wasn't the one designing the dresses. That would be more 5th house, but in a creative sign. She was more in the midst in that world, in the communication side of things, which PR, marketing, right? Client work, very Gemini, juggling many things. She could do many things very well. She was also a manifesting generator, okay? Manifesting generators are the multi-hyphenates, many things very well, okay? So that's the type of industry and work she'd be good in. Interactive, creative world, something that she just loves is what she's meant to do for work. Pair this with her destiny, also in Gemini, like her 10th house ruler, but in the 4th house, not the 5th. So I think this is somebody that eventually would, like, if she didn't have the love story or didn't pass on, like she should have her own, like, I don't know if she did writing or like her own PR firm one day out of her home. She was also destined to be a parent. I don't know if she like, you know, so when people have South Node in the 10th, they're more career oriented people, and they kind of were like, I don't know if I want the traditional family, because North Node is not natural to us, but it calls us. We could be like, I want that, but I don't know how to do it. Maybe I'm just going to hang back here. So she's somebody that was like, career was natural, doing the thing. But there was this pull to create family, whatever that means. It can be a non-traditional, whatever, if she wanted kids or not. But I would say that that was going to be part of her purpose. But also in a career way, she's meant to share her voice. And it would be so relatable, 4th house, feel like home. So I think she was meant to create like a company of her own that was a passion-led through her connections. Both her and John have a 4 profile in human design, and both are manifesting generators. And the 4s always say through your people, through your connections, word of mouth. And so she was meant to create that, okay? Her moon, most important part of the birth chart. This is somebody's deepest, truest self, their inner world, their inner emotions, what they need, how they nurture, love language. So moon in Cancer, so deep, so sensitive, so sweet, kind, caring, motherly energy, even though the rest of her chart is like career, non-traditional, visionary, social, unique, so cool girl vibes. Her moon though, behind closed doors are the people that felt like family. Moon in Cancer, Cancer rules the moon. It represents mother, family, emotions, home. And so a moon in Cancer, I would always ask this person about their relationship with their mother. It looks like there's positive aspects mainly to it. It's in the 6th house of day-to-day work and routine. So emotionally, I would say, are you pretty close to your mother? The only thing I would see is maybe mom's a little critical. 6th house is that Virgo placement of like, you could do this better, is something that might be in her relationship with her mom, or just opinionated or didn't agree. They shared not really that, we didn't see critical mom, but I think she, had her opinions about the relationship, but this feels much more specific to her chart. But this also shows a mom that shows up in the day-to-day. They're very involved in each other's life, okay? She was born on a full moon. Do you guys notice that? Pretty cool. So full moon people, there's an opposition saying this and this, and I need to find the balance. So she had a sun in Capricorn, which is work, goals, steady, like boss energy, but it's in the 12th house. I'm sensitive. But moon, her soft spot, it was emotions, intuition, home, family. In the 6th house, practical day-to-day living. Her physical, practical day-to-day living, 6th house, was very emotionally impacted. Like her emotions impacted it. So when somebody's 6th house is ruled by the moon, let alone has the moon in it, I'm like, your health directly related to your day-to-day work, routine, stress. I wonder if she had this would be behind the scenes, we won't know. Maybe Carol Radziwill, do you know? Moon in Cancer in the 6th, if she was really stressed, like the show depicted, and like overwhelmed, this could be an impact to fertility, hormones. She could just feel sick, emotional depletion and sensitivity, sun in the 12th. She could just feel like shut down, and I think you're depressed, and yeah. But like, once again, moon in Cancer, extremely nurturing. 6th house also rules pets. I know that they have a dog and that was shown in the show, but I would say they probably should have emphasized that dog more, because when somebody has moon in Cancer in the 6th, I'm like, oh, their pets are their family, like over the top. So like, this is the one maybe like giving the pet a extravagant birthday party, or just like being very attached and very nurturing and very overgiving, and like the dog can do no wrong kind of thing. I think John also has a moon in the 6th house, so he was probably the same with the dog. 6th house moon, probably critical of herself. So most of her chart, cool girl, chill, hardworking, blunt, wild, fun, accepting, like curious, open-minded, lighthearted. But this moon in the 6th says she also, if she wasn't feeling emotionally fulfilled, balance of the full moon, if work wasn't going well, we overemphasize the other side of the coin, she could be pretty self-critical. The 6th house moon, at its toughest, is like catastrophizing, hypervigilant, all or nothing, critical to others or herself. In its best way, this would be really good in like anything she does or work. It's like, I see the details that are often overlooked by others. I help reach potentials. And in Cancer, it's like emotionally resonate with people, and I see how to help and support. And I know exactly what to say, exactly how to show up. Acts of service is a big one here. Even if she wasn't extremely emotionally, verbally emotional, we see that she's an open emotional center in human design. We tend to feel a lot but not express a lot, and she sure did feel a lot, and she would show you through showing up and caretaking and seeing the little things you needed and offering a helping hand, okay? And teasing you, maybe being blunt, funny, okay? But at its toughest, she was probably hard on herself, okay? And this is the procrastinating perfectionism house of like, if it's not perfect, I get paralyzed with what to do, and then I just shut down, okay? So that's the tough side of her chart. But man, if I was giving her reading, I'd be like, oh, you know, work life balance is key with Capricorn and Cancer. Cancer is home, family, and emotions. And then Capricorn is goals, status, work. A full moon in these signs is saying like your whole life is about finding the balance and being able to do both. This is somebody that would be a working parent. And it's like tough. What they depicted on the show is like her work, she could no longer work. So that was probably really tough, knowing that she is Capricorn sun and her South Node in the 10th house. Okay. And then 6th and 12th house balance. 12th house is the emotional, spiritual, energetic sponge side of her. And this wise, intuitive, maybe she was into spirituality or maybe astrology or tarot. I don't know. That'd be really cool. And or maybe just psychology, but like that's like that inner world. She is very like sensitive and wise and spiritual. And then the 6th house is the physical health, practical. And so finding the balance between physical health and emotional spiritual health was also a big thing. So all or nothing with physical health could be a tricky thing with moon. It's like health is so connected to the emotions. So for her, I would tell her, okay, working out is for your emotional health. Okay. So, and don't do all or nothing. I would tell her, don't, you know, it's got to be 6 days a week perfectly, or I get the case of the fuck it's. Instead, 3 days a week consistently, flow it, easy. It's going to be good for your mental health. Get grounded, put your feet. She had trouble with grounding, open root center. She could be restless. Okay, anything else? Oh, her 7th house represents her partner. She's got part of fortune there. The ruler being Leo. This makes me think of John. Leo, full head of hair. He's not a Leo, but like Leo qualities is the first layer of her partner. The ruler of Leo is Sun. It's sitting in the 12th house in Capricorn. What I would say with this chart, I'm like, when the 7th house ruler is in the 12th, representing the partner, there can be like secret relationships, affairs. Luckily, this is the good version of that, of like they had to like be in secret. But it's also self-sacrificing placement for relationships. So if you have your 7th house ruler in the 12th, it can be a sign of like, oh, our relationship has to be behind the scenes or hidden, or maybe we start in an affair moment, or I'm over sacrificing because 12th house is like over giving and over supporting. That's kind of very fitting. The type of person she should be with is somebody that is very charismatic, magnetic, attractive, and hardworking, probably sensitive. Hopefully they've done the work on themselves, is what I tell her. Instead of emotionally avoidant and shut down, are they like able to talk about the deep things together? But this is somebody that's very successful and very charismatic. So that fits pretty perfectly with JFK Jr. Okay. Anything else with her chart? I mean, there's so many more things that I could talk about, but let's move on. Okay. Quickly, we can look at John's chart. His North Node is exactly on his ascendant. His destiny was to figure out who he was. We see in his human design, his G center is open, white. That's the center of identity. This man, I mean, it's easy to know this too, probably from his upbringing, but his whole purpose in life was to find, who am I? Carolyn had her G center defined. She had a clear sense of self. She had an identity. She was unique. Uranus ruled rising sign with Mars and Venus right on her rising. She was a force. She was magnetic. She was passionate. She showed up and she's like, I am who I am. Very clear and confident in who she was. Probably extremely attractive to JFK Jr., who had his G center open, meaning he's a chameleon to who he's around. If I was his reader and he was a client, I would say, you have to surround yourself with people that really inspire you, people that really know who they are, because you will, like when whatever center is white in human design, you take in that energy and you expand it. So you magnify the people around you for better or worse. Carolyn, who shows up with real clear identity, real force as she enters a room. He just soaked that up. It was so beautiful to him, I assume. Okay. And it helped him figure out his destiny and his path. His north node being exactly on his ascendant, 11 and 11, wow, means his south node, where he came into this life with a lot of experience in past life and comfort zone, is exactly on his 7th house cusp, representing relationships. This is karmic relationships. This is, I feel much better when I can be in a relationship. He was probably codependent. He was really defined by his relationships. We know that in general in the news, but like, just think all relationships, okay? And it could be hard to have his own identity, which was his life purpose, okay? In Virgo, it's like taking his Piscean, flowy, dreamy, flighty energy and bringing it into practicality and making something literal and tangible, okay? We know he did that with his magazine. His MC, career placement in Gemini, which is curiosity, communication, he's meant to share. And so it makes sense that he was in a field of writing. The ruler is Mercury, sitting in the 3rd house, which is Gemini's house. In Scorpio, conjunct Neptune. Okay, I would say that he's also a manifesting generator. Gemini, a manifesting generator, remind me of each other. It's like multi-hyphenate. He needs to be wearing many hats in what he does out in the world for work and career. The ruler being in the 3rd emphasizes that. 3rd house is many hats, juggling many things, projects, communications, leading teams, etc. But in Scorpio with Neptune, I'm like, oh, like Neptune is that celebrity projection. Look how many aspects Neptune has in his chart. All these blue lines are coming from Neptune. This man was alluring, okay? Not just beautiful like we see it. Like I no idea about him like growing up. Like that's more of our parents' timeline. There's such an allure. I would guarantee if you met him and talked to him, magnetic. So alluring, okay? So the ruler of his career being with all of this, all these blue lines hitting it, ideally, and I don't know much about his magazine, but he was meant to uncover, have like deeper stories, research, guide, reporting maybe. Yeah, he's like an excavator of like human behaviors, okay? All right, he was Sun in Sag to Carolyn's South Node in Sag. This is a past life connection. He also has Moon in the 6th house like Carolyn does. So the 6th house is day-to-day routine, health, pets, physical health. So emotionally, he really needed movement. He's probably really attached to his pet as well. But it's in Aquarius, which she has Venus and Mars in Aquarius, to the Moon in Aquarius. I love that compatibility. And his Mars is in Cancer, her Moon was in Cancer. That's interesting. Okay. What I love about JFK Jr. is he has Chiron conjunct his Moon. I have that. That's really kind of tough. Whenever I see it in clients' charts, I'm like, okay, let's talk about it. Chiron is the wounded healer when it's with the Moon, exactly like he has it in the 6th house. Moon is mother, emotions, inner, truer self. So to his core, he was also pretty critical of himself. Did he have a critical mother? I would ask him too. Okay, they probably both did. Moon in Aquarius he is of the people, he's social, he needs freedom, he needs to do it his way to his core, okay? Whereas Carolyn's Moon was much more of like home, family, deep, intuitive. His is more of like detached and friendly, but it's with Chiron, wounded healer. So he was sensitive, he dealt with loss, we know that in an early age, but this is more tied to his mom. So, I have Chiron Moon in my 8th. I lost my mother. I was a caretaker. It doesn't mean if you have that, you're going to lose your mother, but there is a significant connection to mother or how you were nurtured or lack thereof. So I really saw this and I was just like, oh, this humanized him big time for me. He was sensitive and he dealt with a lot of discomfort emotionally. In Aquarius, he probably detached from it. And he had to, I don't know if he ever did learn how to feel. He could probably talk about his feelings, but not feel his feelings, is my guess. Okay. Doesn't like confrontation. Mars retrograde in Cancer. Boy, did not like confrontation. Okay. So that's my guess, is he just wanted to keep it easy breezy. His Venus is with Saturn in Capricorn. So love, worthiness, value would get better with age after 30. So I wonder if you guys can do the math. When did they actually get married? It was after his Saturn return, I'm assuming. And money, like, and love is like slow burn delay till after that timeline, usually after 36. So he might have struggled a little bit with these things, but it's a great placement to have Venus in Capricorn. He really wants long-term commitment. Okay, even though he's a Sag, Sages are known for freedom and not being tied down. When it's with the right person, he absolutely loves that long-term commitment. Jupiter is also in the 4th, big family. Venus is in the 4th, love of family. Saturn in the 5th. I don't know if he would have wanted kids right away. It'd be later in life. Okay. Mercury conjunct Neptune and Scorpio. Mercury and Scorpio is my favorite. Really deep, really smart. He was smart, but he was just so like South Node and Pisces flowy and way critical of himself with a Virgo rising and a moon in the 6th house. So I don't know if it like kept him from really reaching his potential or not. Like I don't, most people know about him. I don't. I just know from Love Story, which is like the fictionalized version of him. And yeah, he's very smart. He was a little stubborn. I would say he was probably a little set in his ways, whereas Carolyn's more open-minded and creative in the way that she thinks. And she's really empathetic, a little restless though. Okay. Wherever the centers are white, you take in energy and magnify them. They become very wise, but if you try to operate from these areas, it's like not your energy. So she's, empathetic, which can make her deeply emotional, but it's usually expanded other people's emotions. Very restless, very inspired, very creative with ideas. If somebody has an idea, she would expand upon it. Okay. But she had a clear sense of her voice. She knew who she was. She had strong identity, strong intuition, strong gut instincts. She was meant to move through the world, fast gut instinct. John, emotional authority, sensitive. He had an emotional undercurrent. So he's probably moody and stubborn. And struggled with identity. Interesting. Okay. And then I layered their charts together. I haven't looked at this yet. Carolyn's on the outer circle, John's on the inner circle. I kind of touched on these before, but let's just look at it together. I like that his moon was in Aquarius to her Venus and Mars. It's like Venus is what we love and appreciate in others. It's what we're attracted to. And he was that to his core. The moon is who you are to your core. When somebody's moon falls into your first house too, that means he was an emotional support to Carolyn. Okay. This is tough. His Saturn was conjunct her sun. So when there's Saturn and sun, Saturn's great for synastry and compatibility because it brings long-term commitment. But when it's on the sun, it feels like Saturn makes me think of boss or father energy. Sitting on somebody's sun, which is their vitality and like confidence, Saturn can be like, like judgy or critical. So I wonder if there's a little bit of that or just like dampened her vibrancy. And it could just be because of, his lifestyle, maybe not him, but I would think he might be a little judgy of her looking at this. And this could feel like when somebody's Saturn sitting on your planets, it can feel like, it doesn't feel light. It doesn't feel light. Okay. But her sun sign is in Capricorn. His Venus, what he loves and appreciates in people and is attracted to, is in Capricorn. So he was very attracted to Her work ethic is my guess. Her ability to not need him, I think, was probably very attractive, even though that role kind of shifted. But I think with somebody who has Venus and Capricorn, they really love and appreciate people that create their own work and success and are independent and aren't just after him for, you know, what he can provide. She was doing it for herself. Okay. Oh, interesting. Yeah, his sun in Sagittarius is exactly with her south node. Let's look. His sun 16. Oh, this is her. North node is 2 degrees Gemini. That means her south node is 2 degrees Sagittarius, always opposite. 2 degrees Sagittarius is her south node, past life, where she came into this life with energy. His sun is at 2 degrees Sagittarius. There we go. Past life connection, 150, 10%. Wow. Faded. What's his north node, south node doing? Interesting. His north node is in Virgo, 11 degrees. Her Saturn's at 12 degrees Pisces, because his south node would be 11 Pisces. Okay, again, a Saturn placement, that's hard. So they both created this Saturnian seriousness. So there's like, when they met, not only was it a soul recognition, sun south node, not only were they attracted to each other, synergy of both of their Venuses being in the same sign as the other one's sun and moon, attraction, appreciation, soul recognition. But when Saturn is on somebody's south node, there's this like thought of like, oh, there's a responsibility here. There's a long-term commitment here. We've been committed in the past here. I'm going to take her seriously. His south node, where he came from, is with her Saturn. So 2 Saturn placements, kind of tough, not going to lie. And when there's south node connections instead of north node, south node is where you've been, your past, your comfort zone. They instantly probably connected, but they hold each other back. Okay. When somebody has their planets with people's north node, you can think of that pushes them out of their comfort zone of where they need to be going and excelling and expanding in this lifetime. Okay. You can have both. Both are like lovely, a past life connection, a familiarity, beautiful. But both of them had only south node, no north node. Okay. Yeah. And double down, his Mars in Cancer to her moon in Cancer, that's protective, that's the masculine, that's the feminine. Though we know his Mars is retrograde in Cancer, it's like, does not like confrontation. Probably moody, kind of like a baby. Not to talk bad at him. Like, I dated a guy with Mars in Cancer, and I'm just like, oh, they just wanted to be like pet and cuddled, and like they were moody. So I wonder if that's true. And then Moon and Mars again. Her Mars was in Aquarius, his moon was in Aquarius. So she was more of this like independent, vibrant one for sure. What was this? The type of partner he needed. Where's Neptune in the third? Like, he was looking for his dream girl. She's probably it. But like Pisces ruling the 7th, somebody that's either creative or spiritual and intuitive and empathetic and very wise. Ruler in the 3rd, great communicator, honest, trustworthy, because it's in Scorpio. And with all these aspects, it's just like such a layered person. He needs to be careful. The low vibe was people that are like, would pull him down into like more of that smoke and mirrors, the elusive, the like he might have dated people that had substance abuse issues before, like is my guess with that placement. He needs to be with people that have done the work and are emotionally strong. because he could also attract people that are very emotionally weak and yeah, unhealthy mentally. Okay. She doesn't seem that way. Okay. Wow. Pretty cool. Anything else? Sun and MC. He lit up her career. So like the MC is the most public part of your chart. It's what you do out in the world, what you're known for. His sun is right there, kind of being like, I am your career now. Interesting. Very driven, very cool person she was. Very intuitive, very sweet, soft spot mama bear protector once you got to know her, emotional, but probably didn't lead with that. Probably kept it pretty practical and blunt and funny. Highly passionate. With Venus retrograde, yeah, there's some like internal like insecurities around love and worthiness and value, but like with Mars, it's like she pushed through. She was independent. She's a life path 3, creative, fun, playful, and he was a life path 7, that illusion, that creative, that free flowy, wise one. So based on the show, like I love that his birth chart and his human design is like he's really smart. Okay. And he learned to get more practical. He is a really kind, giving, fair, caring person, doesn't like confrontation, very curious, probably had like ADHD is my guess. I do too, so I'm not judging. It's like he was probably interested in so many things, which can be paralyzing, like which do I choose? But he was meant to share whatever he loved learning or whatever he was curious about out in the world, and his fascinating mind. He probably got obsessed with things and like was like, ooh, I want to study that, and I learned that. So this is really cool to see about him. And yeah, the mom connection too, and the loss of her with the Chiron moon. Oh, that really hit him hard. Obviously, I mean, we see that in the show, so they depicted that well. I think he probably, when moon is in the 6th in Aquarius, he probably over emphasized in working and working out to deal with it. But yeah, both of them had a little perfectionist streak. She was cool. She was so cool and had her shit together. Okay. But I think when you take away somebody's Capricorn and 10th house, like aspirations, goals, and this natural drive, she got pulled into that moon too much. But her destiny was to probably have her own business, or create a family and be a working parent. She had 2, both the North and South Node and her Sun and Moon were in that working parent thing. So I don't know, maybe she wanted to be a parent, or maybe she thought that would get in the way of her career when she was younger. So yeah, okay, fun. I think the show, based on the chart, did it well, but I think like with Carolyn, her friends, her family, her pet, really important. She was such a social, open, friendly person and interacting. I think I would have liked to know more about their social lives based on her chart. Not just talking like Carol Radziwill, like her best friend or whatever. P.S. For those that have said like in the press, like they weren't that close, I remember Tyler Henry, the medium, like I'm obsessed with him. He channels past loved ones. If you haven't heard from him, where have you been, under a rock? He channeled for Carol Radziwill once, and Carolyn came through instead of her husband and said that they were like sisters or something. So they were really close. But not just her relationship with Carol. It's like I would want to, I guess they did show us some of the people she worked with, but like she was probably extremely connected, really like had a lot of friends in her life. But then with that Cancer moon, very selective of the best friends. Okay, very close to her family. The feminine energies in her family with a Cancer moon in the 6th, and they were involved in each other's day-to-day lives, is my guess. So yeah, there you have it. This was a long, long episode, but it was my 8th episode. What did I tell you guys when I started this? I just had to throw shit at the wall, put it out there, start. I commit to 8 episodes and then reassess. And today is the 8th episode. So I did it long, I did it big, I covered it all. I like to keep them under an hour from here on out, but I had the time today. And so please share this around the world, share it with a friend. I'll see you guys next week. Next week, we're going to start having to talk about kind of like maybe some more tense things in the news. But like that, what we control is what I like to cover. And so we're going to like regulate the nervous system. I love that. And whatever shows up, we'll talk about it. So that might determine what next week's about. Okay, guys, catch ya next time. Bye.